All right, Bills fans, welcome to a special edition show here, a first on Rock Show Critique. If it goes well, maybe we'll change the name and do a podcast on a regular basis. But we wanted to go over stuff that took place today down at One Bills Drive. It was D-Day. Shockingly, really. I thought this totally took me by surprise, as Sean McDermott, coach of the Bills, has been fired, and Brandon Beane not only stays around, he gets promoted to head of football operations. Kind of weird how that all went down. What was your take when you first heard about this, David?
I was pretty shocked. I mean, honestly, I didn't think it would come down like that. I didn't think, I mean, I know McDermott's had his struggles in the postseason through the years, but I don't think, I mean, what he was able to do with the personnel that they had this year on defense, and I mean, his second half adjustments throughout the last couple months of the season for defensively were next level. I mean, he was the reason why they were able to mount a lot of those comebacks that they had at the end of the games, just because the defense was able to shut people down in the second half. I thought he worked well with what he had, and I honestly didn't think Bagula would actually make a move. I thought he was kind of stuck, but and if he was going to make a move, I didn't think that McDermott was going to be the one to go. I assumed that Bean would be out, just given the pressure and how people like he didn't do anything at the trade deadline this year, and just the receiving core just didn't work out. But yeah, I was definitely shocked.
Yeah, I think the one thing I've noticed, obviously Sean McDermott did a great job. You got to remember, seemed like almost every member of the defense was injured at one point this season. It was ridiculous how those injuries were just piling up, piling up. And, even in going into the last game of the season, we really didn't have the defense that was envisioned at the start of the year because you had Ed Oliver coming back playing not much, he was coming back from a lot,
Yeah.
and all the other injuries there. It's just just crazy how they just. But yeah, he still managed, like you said, to pull all these comebacks, and it's like he put a Band-Aid on this defense and kept it going, no matter what happened there. Um, yeah, it is a surprise that Pagula would make this decision. He kept Kevin Adams from the Buffalo Sabres around forever. I mean, that guy could do 3,000 things wrong, and have no track record of playoffs and winning seasons or nothing. And then here's Sean McDermott, who's got all these winning seasons and five divisional championships, and got us to the AFC championship a couple times. And yet here he is the one, all of a sudden, Pagula wakes up and decides to fire him. I don't know. What do you think? That's why I was really surprised.
Yeah. I mean, a ton of things went wrong in that game on Saturday, but I didn't really come away with it feeling that McDermott's defense let us down in the end. I mean, that's Allen had a chance to win, and he just didn't, for whatever reason, just didn't do it. He missed a lot of throws. He turned the ball over. I mean, the fumbles were an issue. The quarterback had the chance to win the game at the end, and he just didn't do it. So I wouldn't really hang that loss on McDermott. But I mean, I definitely questioned him not having Allen kneel down at the end of the first half. I think that was a blunder, but I don't know what his mindset was on that. He never really gave us a definitive explanation, but
Well, that was the thing that I had posted on my personal page. I said
yeah,
that was to me was the deciding factor of the game because
yeah,
going into the locker room down by seven is one thing, but going down
yeah,
by two scores when all he had to do was kneel down, the thing that got me was there was 22 seconds left when Denver scored. It kicked off. I'm not sure what the exact time was when the Bills actually started their drive there, uh, but it was less than 20 seconds. We know that much.
yeah,
I've never seen McDermott not kneel down in that situation because you're getting the ball back in the third quarter to start it. You're only down by seven, and he doesn't like to take those kind of chances. And presto, and there's no timeouts left either. Had there been three timeouts left, yeah, we could go down there and probably get in field goal range real quick. Yeah, I can understand his philosophy behind that. But when there's no timeouts left at all, and there wasn't any, it was just a dumb move. I mean, it was unlike McDermott. So I don't know.
yeah.
It's definitely that's where my take was, where the game was really lost because, and then the Bills went down and they didn't score on that first time they got the ball, and I thought it was over.
Yep.
even back then, but they still managed to come back and actually take the lead, at in the fourth
Mhm.
quarter there.
Yeah. I mean, even when James Cook fumbled when the Bills were up 7-3, I thought that kind of killed the momentum too. I mean, I don't know if they would have necessarily scored a touchdown on that drive, but they would have had a pretty good chance to. I mean, they were moving the ball.
And that was against one of the, Denver's one of the best defenses there is. So the fact that we
Yeah.
were moving it, that was definitely a
Oh.
good sign.
Hmm.
Yeah, definitely. But you can have a lot of sour grapes, but I mean, I think the problem you're seeing is the officiating in this league. You saw the game, the Bills game, obviously. Now, I didn't watch too much of the games yesterday, but there were certain circumstances that happened in those games too, where
Yeah, there was almost a mirror image of the Brandon Cooks catch or interception, whatever you want to call it, with the Rams yesterday. It was ruled a catch, but it was almost the same play. So,
yeah, I just don't understand. The league is, I talked to many people because I got a wide variety of people I talk to, just not even in the Buffalo market. And they were even saying, what's going on with the NFL? I mean, you're getting all these different takes on things, and everybody's chiming in on what they feel should have been. And you go look at these rules, and you're going, how can they? And the fact, I think the thing that got everybody upset in Buffalo was the fact you just kind of went right on and just didn't even really look at the play. How do you not
yeah.
even look? It's one thing to take the time out and yeah, let's make sure we get it right. It was in overtime, so the Bills couldn't
Mhm.
challenge it because there's no challenges. It's all replay booth. And for them to make that call that quick without really giving it a solid, some of these cases, if you remember, they're looking at somebody's plays for like 5 minutes without getting an announcement of what they made the decision on yet. And then here this play, a big important part of the game, and it was not a clear cut play. That play could have gone either way.
Yeah.
I don't know what the official ruling ended up being, but to me it looked like both his knees were down. He still had the ball in his hands. It wasn't moving, and yet at the split second of them coming together, the ball was ripped out of his hands, and all of a sudden they're
Yeah.
counting an interception. So I don't know.
Yeah, I would have thought the receiver would have gotten the call on the field at the time, but they felt differently. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, we can
I
make
mean,
our
there's a lack of consistency across the league with a lot of calls like that. But I mean, I that's the one thing about the Bills is the officiating is always going to be what it is. But I just wish they wouldn't have to rely on quite like controversial calls like that. They should have just put the game away. But
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to diminish, they deserve to lose the game because, like you said, they had five turnovers, regardless of, had they kneeled down at the half, it would have only been three, but they
mm,
didn't, so the fact is there was five and four of them were on Allen, two picks, two fumbles, and Cook had the other fumble. But I just felt the better team did not win that game. I mean, look, I mean, I'm not just saying this just because I'm from Buffalo and I'm a Bills fan. It's just the better team did not win, and that's just the truth. I mean, I don't have no, usually you get excited even when the Bills aren't in the championship because they're not, how often
mhm,
are we ever in the AFC Championship game? Two
yeah,
times over the last 20 years, if that, or something like that. But the fact that you got Denver and New England, it's just like, and now you got a backup quarterback in there because Nick's hurt himself.
yep.
So that, I mean, I can't see Denver really having a chance the way New England's been rolling along.
Yeah, I mean, Drake May really wasn't that good against the Texans either. I mean, C.J. Stroud just had as many fumble problems as Allen did.
Yeah, that's the truth, ain't it? So what do you think? Where do we go forward from here? I know we're waiting for Brandon Beane's post-season presser here. They didn't give a time or date yet from last time I heard. That's going to be a very interesting press conference. We'll see if he tries to
Yeah,
duck and avoid a lot of questions here.
yeah. I think the way he frames it is going to be important. Like he's going to have to really sell. Because I don't think the fan base was really pushing for McDermott to be out at this moment. So they're going to have to really try and sell it. Plus, I don't know who are you bringing in. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's I've always wanted them to go in an offensive direction, but of the available coaches right now, I don't know if there's like that one like up and coming offensive mind out there who you can plug in right away and it's going to have success. I don't know. So hopefully, I mean, I'm imagining they're going to do a pretty thorough search, but I don't know. Like I've heard Joe Brady's name being thrown out there, but for me, I if you get rid of McDermott, and you get rid of him and then you just elevate Joe Brady. For me, that's not good enough. I don't like that
No.
idea at all. But
I mean, most people were calling for Brady's head all year
yeah,
with the,
I
with this,
know. So
even though we led the league in rushing, and
exactly, yeah,
you
that's
know, and scored 30 points a game for how many games, and people
yeah,
were still calling for Joe Brady's head.
yep.
So
So
yeah, Joe Brady. I mean, I think he still needs a lot more seasoning before he becomes a head coach. I really do. He wasn't an offensive coordinator that long, and but I thought he's done a decent job. I mean, especially considering the amount of problems we have with, everybody says we have a weak receiving core, and we had to really patch it together there near the end there because of all the injuries, but Josh Allen, he can make an offense plug along. He just keeps plugging along and throwing the ball to whoever, but he missed a lot of good reads in that game against Denver, though. I guess there was a bunch, looking back on it, I think there was about four areas where we could have had touchdowns on plays that he just didn't see the guy was wide open.
yeah, I
I
mean, he
mean,
missed
that's,
that throw to the throw to Knox that he missed could have won the game too. So it was
yeah, yeah, definitely. So, well, the thing that Bean gets a lot of bad press for is the fact that his drafting is horrible.
yeah.
I mean, like the only thing they ever drafted good seemed like was Allen, you know?
Yeah, I mean, him. I mean, he gets credit for Allen, obviously, but I mean, they gave a ton of money to Knox, so then they drafted Kincaid anyway. But then they never really used Kincaid to justify his draft position, so that one kind of puzzled me a lot too. But and obviously the Kyrie Elam was a bust.
Oh, big time.
Coleman appears to be a bust.
Oh
So
yeah.
that's yeah,
Yeah, I would assume no matter what goes forward starting next year, we're gonna have a whole different group of receiving core. I'm sure Shakir will still be there. James Cook's always going to be there and be a threat out of the backfield. I think not having Ty Johnson was a loss too. That was really
yeah,
hurt the last two
mhm.
games where, we didn't have Ty Johnson. He's definitely a good part of this offense. And Ray Davis would, solid season, where he really came out of nowhere and took over as the kickoff returner. Uh,
Yeah. He
but
was a first team All Pro kick returner. So
yeah. So I think we're gonna have a lot of changes next year, but they're gonna really have to look at that defense. I don't think Bosa will be back. He was only on a 1 year deal, if I'm not mistaken, right?
yeah, I think
And
so. Yeah,
yeah,
I don't know. Like he gave a lot of money to guys like Rousseau, and I mean Rousseau's been a fine player, but I mean
yeah,
he's not. We're not getting the pass rush that we need to be getting for guys who are drafted that high. So
yeah. I mean, the pass rush was a joke in those
yeah,
playoff games, and even near the end of the season, there should have been a lot more
mhm,
pressures on these quarterbacks and a lot more sacks. It's like I can't
yeah,
believe how many times we're just letting the quarterback get in that pocket, and he's able to get out of there and just keep on making plays no matter who they are. It's just ridiculous. But there was a stat on Bosa how he was so good on like the first 8 games of the season. He had like maybe, I don't know, I can't remember the numbers, but he had like 4 sacks and maybe 20 pressures or something. And then the last 9 games of the season, he had 1 sack and like 8 pressures. It was like a difference between night and day. Now, got to remind you, yes, he was hurt a little bit there.
mhm,
And there was a couple games when we weren't sure if he was even going to be able to play in.
yeah,
But, if he's in the game and you're able to play, you got to produce,
mhm,
especially
yeah.
a guy that's been around there like him. It's just a waste of a spot there.
Yeah, I mean their defensive depth was definitely tested late in the season. I mean, it was unfortunate in that game that the one play where Tre'Davious White went out, the backup goes in and he gets scored a touchdown on right immediately. So
yeah, and the fact you didn't really have any other, it's like you left them one on one like that, and you knew they were going to
Yep.
try to go for the end zone. So that was just a
Yeah.
bad read by I don't know who
Yeah.
made that call, Babbage or
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not,
I mean, they set him up for failure.
yeah, I'm not a fan of Babbage. I hope he's out of here.
Yeah, I would think like I would think it's going to be a whole new look next year, but depending on who they bring in. But I don't. I mean, who would you like to see him bring in?
Well, that's a tough call because they're saying right now, are you going to bring in a guy that never won a Super Bowl? Because if you did, you're right back to where you started with McDermott. At least
I know.
McDermott got you the five
Yeah.
championships and all that,
Mhm. Yeah.
and all those wins he had. His coaching record, considering when he first took over and how he ended, was impeccable. Racking up 12 plus wins a bunch of times, even with that gruesome schedule. We've been playing a tough schedule the last few years, and New England had such a cakewalk this year. It was unbelievable. The next year, their schedule will definitely be a lot tougher, thankfully, but it doesn't help this year. We had to play all those tough games, and New
Yeah.
England just that's why we never could catch them in the end there.
Mhm.
The key games of the season that the Bills lost was that New England home game because we were behind the eight ball as soon as we lost that game, and we never regained the division. And then
Yep.
that Miami game. I don't know how you go into
Yeah.
Miami and just totally, and they're putting the blame on Bean there because he made no
Yeah.
moves at the deadline.
Yeah. Yeah. The game against Atlanta was pretty bad early in the year too.
But they still had a chance to win that one, but they just didn't.
Yeah. So
Well, the one thing too that they were bringing up was with Bean. He made no moves, but he's the one that made this roster. He's the one that made this spending right up to the cap. So whose fault? It's his
yeah.
fault.
Mhm.
Yeah, he could put a Band-Aid on things, I think. I think he did a good job at putting Band-Aids on, but once you're up against that cap, it limits what you could do at the trade deadline.
Yeah. I mean, he thought it was a championship roster, and it really wasn't. So
No, we knew that. We knew that right from the
yeah.
start. I
Yeah.
mean,
But
and,
you know,
and
he
he
was trying to.
he was
That was
trying to
the narrative
sell.
he was trying to sell. So yeah.
So, well, we'll see what next year brings and go from there. Obviously there's going to be a search for a coach. You mentioned who do I think? I mean, you got to bring a guy that probably won one before, or at least has a record similar to McDermott's.
Yeah, I don't know who's out there. I mean, I've heard like Brian Dable being mentioned, but I don't necessarily like love that idea either. I mean, he
No.
was great as a coordinator, but I don't think the head coach is the right move
Well,
for
look
him.
how bad
So
he was for the Giants.
I know, yeah.
And he
So
had Daniel Jones for a while. Then Daniel Jones goes off to
he
the
did,
Colts,
yeah,
and he looks like an all-star. You know?
yeah. So I don't know. Like, there's not like an obvious like Ben Johnson type candidate out there right now where you can like he's on the rise. So I don't know. But I mean, I've even heard like Mike Tomlin's name being thrown out there. I don't know if I love that idea either because I mean, he won a Super Bowl, but it's been forever, and he's a defensive guy anyway. So I don't know if that's the direction they want to go in either. But
Some people are bringing up Gruden, but they always bring up all these coaches
yeah,
that have, from the past that they're still
yeah,
out there that may be interested in it, but I
yeah.
don't know.
Like I saw an article earlier on the internet. I don't know if it was like it was on Yahoo Sports or something like that. They
Mhm.
listed like the most intriguing coaching candidates for the Bills, and they even had Belichick on there. I was like, that's completely ridiculous. But
Yeah, we bring in the seven, and that's another thing. You can't bring
yeah,
in a guy that's that old. I mean, that's
no,
crazy.
no,
It's a younger game now. If you look at all these head coaches
yeah,
that are getting hired,
yeah,
it's all guys that are 55 or under now,
yeah.
because people hopefully are hoping for longevity.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I don't know if you saw a couple
I mean,
of
yeah.
them.
I mean, we saw how Pete Carroll ended in Vegas, and that
Oh
wasn't
yeah,
pretty. So
yeah. He will never
it's
coach. He will never coach again in this league.
yeah,
That was just a big mistake.
mhm.
So the Dolphins ended up getting their guy. They hired former Packers defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley as their head coach, and I'm not too familiar with him, but
Yeah. I
I,
mean, I like yeah with Miami, Mike McDaniel's another guy that's out there now. I mean, I think he's a pretty good offensive coordinator, but I wouldn't want him as a coach.
don't we know that all too well?
Yeah,
Yeah, so it's really tough there as far as who's out there. The Bills, obviously the Bills season was still going, and had they won, we wouldn't even be talking about this stuff right now. It's just that's why it was such a shock that
yeah,
it happened this quickly right after the season. You figure,
Mhm.
you know, they must have had their minds made up a lot earlier than, and if they didn't make it
Yeah.
past this round, he was gone no matter what.
Yeah, I would think they would have to have somebody in mind already. Like you don't make a move like that unless you have somebody you're after. But we'll find that out, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And they were saying also it was kind of weird how McDermott reached out to Jay Skursky of the Buffalo News and went over about that play, that interception, the Cooks play there that everybody was still
Yeah,
talking about 2 days later, 3 days later here. Um, how he went into a breakdown about it to him and told him, hey, that's a catch,
yeah. Well, it seemed
so
like the fate of his job kind of hinged on that one play because if it had gone the other way, he probably wouldn't have been fired.
yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, it's just weird how,
Yeah,
couple like you said, there's just a couple plays of that
mhm,
game and
yeah,
it's a whole different result, you know. All right, well, thanks for coming aboard, talking some Bills football, and if we get a coaching hire here, maybe we'll hop on and talk about it, and maybe we'll get joined by Mr. Tom Jennings or something like that. We'll see. Other than that, yeah, sounds
yeah. I
good.
mean,
So,
I can't wait to see who it's going to be now. They made the offseason much more intriguing. So
yeah, definitely, yeah, because I mean.